Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, aka Caliban, and, Book Ship doesn't have a name, but it does have a breakfast nook. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. How do you feel?
I feel good. I did today read a headline, not to go, deep right off the jump here, but I read a headline that was something like after bloody fight, Russian forces take control of Chernobyl. And I was like, excuse me?
Oh, neat.
Like of all the headlines I've had to read in my short little life, I was like, that has to be up there on just like shock, as far as shock level. What's the advantage,
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
It's like, we have a monopoly on all the three-headed deer that we're going to use.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, so
for this big
can
push,
can the soldiers even pet the dogs that are running around in Chernobyl?
Right.
I don't know.
Well, it's Russia.
Like,
yeah, don't pet the dogs,
yeah.
Yeah, so we're living in the midst of that. But it's good to have you here.
I did.
Oh, good.
Thank you. I did turn around and then start the HBO show Chernobyl. So clearly, I'm
fantastic.
coping well with the news.
Yeah, I'm going to play. There's a video game called Stalker that's set in and around Chernobyl, and
interesting.
The developers are Ukrainian. And they are in Kiev, so
wow.
We're never going to get the sequel to that game now. That's my big worry.
Stop.
But let me get our guest in. You can hear her already. Returning to the show tonight, my co-host on the Just Enough Trope podcast. She's also the host of the Sailor Noob podcast. She's a frequent Enterprising Individuals and Discoverage guest. It's Mika Hana. Mika, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
It's good to have you here. What are your feelings on Chernobyl?
I'm not really sure why they were like, yes, got it, but yeah.
And your thoughts on the Chernobyl TV show on HBO?
No, that's what I meant, but I was going to...
Oh, okay. Sorry. I think that it was good. It was a very, HBO look at Chernobyl, right? Because we have to add the drama. I mean, I think that there was drama, but...
Yeah. Barry Keoghan, Jesse Buckley, and Jared Harris, I'm in.
Yeah, right, exactly.
They could.
Well, I've seen about 10 minutes of it so far, and it's been enjoyable.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you let us know then, I guess. But yeah,
I will.
It's a worthwhile watch for sure. I wanted to ask Mika, what you guys are watching, and by you guys, I guess I'm included in that. But I'm trying to maintain professional detachment. What are you doing recently on Just Enough Trope?
Yeah. So last week we've been talking about some Oscar-nominated films last couple of weeks, and last week we talked about The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which is about Tammy Faye and Jim Baker, and played by Jessica Chastain and Andrew Garfield.
Right.
And here is a short review. Not necessarily a great film, but fantastic performances. So definitely worth the watch. So I've been enjoying watching Oscar-nominated films.
Just trying to watch some of these Oscar films.
Yeah.
There's a film called The Lost Daughter, which is up for an Oscar.
Yes.
And it stars Jesse Buckley. So you should definitely check that one out too.
That's on my list.
That's two. I'm gonna go for a third Jesse. I'm gonna go for the hat trick on Jesse Buckley later in the show.
Okay.
Be listening for that.
I believe in you.
Well, welcome to the show. It's good to have you back once more. And I wanted to mention speaking of bad news, a bad news item at the start of the show here, and that is that Sally Kellerman has passed away at the age of 84. If you're not sure about who that is, she's an actress, singer, and author. She was nominated for an Oscar for her portrayal of Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan in Robert Altman's film MASH.
Oh.
And she went on to star in many of Altman's films. She also made many TV appearances in the 1960s, and she was a prolific voiceover actress as well, up until the 21st century. And of course, she appeared as Dr. Elizabeth Daner in the second pilot of Star Trek, Where No Man Has Gone Before, which, and here's where the chill will run down your spine, which features the first appearance of the Galactic Barrier in Star Trek.
What? Really?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, bad and kind of crappy coincidence.
Yeah.
But of course, a very talented actress and by all accounts, a very nice and beautiful woman. And so our hats off to her. Great actress. And this episode is dedicated to her.
Yeah. Hot Lips was great. Like, what an interesting character, and she did not enjoy that nickname, but she was really fun because you like to not like her, if that makes sense.
Speaking of MASH,
I've never seen.
Oh, go ahead, Ellen.
I was just gonna say I've never seen the movie. I've only seen the TV show.
Yeah.
The movie's really good.
Yeah. But the movie is, the TV show is a warmer sort of sitcom satire of Korea with moments of poignance. But
I was going to say, I think
the movie is very bitter kind of satire, but funny at the same time.
Yeah.
When I started watching MASH, I think my vibe was based on what my well-renowned father, Scott Pearson, said, is I was maybe a bit too young to watch the movie in his eyes, but I wasn't too young to watch the TV show, which some really hot takes from Scott Pearson on what I could watch at what ages. But and so I have not seen the movie because I watch the TV show all the time, like at my grandma's and stuff. So anyways,
well, I would definitely
short list.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend the movie.
Yeah, it's
and
really
of
good.
course, Loretta Swit, also 84, still going. So maybe she's punching the air somewhere that she won the battle of the Hot Lipses.
Oh, no.
Well, we've just seen the 10th episode of the 4th season of Star Trek Discovery. It's an episode called The Galactic Barrier, and we're here to talk all about it. But first, as always, a warning. We're setting a course for the spoiler zone listeners, so be warned. We're glad you've decided to join us. But if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for The Galactic Barrier is, Captain Burnham and her crew must go where few have gone before, beyond the Galactic Barrier. Meanwhile, Book learns the truth of what drives Ruon Tarka. This episode was written by Ann Koffel Saunders and directed by Deborah Kampmeyer. There's no stardate given for this episode, and I wanted to mention before we begin discussing that the Galactic Barrier, of course, is the titular effect in the episode. Mm-hmm. It's been seen or mentioned in 3 TOS episodes previously, the pilot that we talked about where No Man Has Gone Before, by any other name, and the episode Is There in Truth No Beauty? So whenever some psychic disembodied alien is giving people problems, it always drives the Enterprise out of the galaxy. Oh no, we got to stay in the galaxy. So that's where we've seen that before. And of course, as we learned a few weeks ago, they mentioned that the Stilf species apparently inhabits a region inside the barrier. So they live in one of the bubbles, perhaps.
Oh, right.
What did you guys think about the Galactic Barrier? Mika, you want to tell us what you thought?
So there's a lot happening in this episode. It's a lot to kind of break down, but it kind of felt a little bit disjointed to me in some ways. Yeah. Like, I feel like we've been building to this the entire season. This is a huge thing. We don't know what to expect. Obviously, there's a lot of trepidation. There's a lot of anxiety, and they don't know if they're coming back. And these are huge things, but I just don't know that we're really dealing with a lot of that, if that makes sense. And then we kind of like took a time out to deal with like Tarka's flashbacks and everything. And I was kind of really thrown by that because I guess I was kind of feeling like if we were going to, do that, why did we wait till this late in the season to get us to care more about Tarka, who's just kind of been like this I mean, he's kind of a jerk, you know, and like, I mean, he is, and he's like, I know I am, but this is the reason, you know, and it's like, okay.
We've talked about that phenomena, I think, on previous episodes of Discoverage, where I think it's just a modern TV thing, but the instinct to hold everything back as long as you can in order to create reveals, when sometimes that's harmful because just to have investment, we need to know what's going on. Or, you know, you let us know early and then it can sort of transform into something else. Our relationship to the character changes when we know more. And instead you'll get a situation where you just don't really know anything. And this isn't anything like necessarily new. Remember when Denise Crosby returned to TNG and they spent a couple episodes having her just be sort of backlit in shadow, and we're like, oh, who is this? And then it's finally revealed that it's it's Selah or whatever. But and maybe if they had, you know, so that's sort of sandbagging dramatically, but I think they do that quite a bit on this show. But at least we did finally get cut his backstory, and we got a lot of those blanks filled in on this episode. Ella, just your first impressions.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking today that my critique most weeks is that and maybe not even a critique, is that I always wish they had more time. I almost wish every episode they had time. I almost wish every episode was 2 episodes. Yeah. Because I also was like, week. Yeah, I also was like, yeah, this Tarka thing, like that, if they had, you know, a classic 22 episodes a season, that could have been a whole episode, but they have to. And then I had the thought afterwards that was like, I think that I just have to accept that this is what it's going to feel like, because they're never going to get the green light for 24 episodes a season. It's not going to happen. Right. Yeah. And so, every episode is going to there's just going to be a lot going on. Yeah.
The impression that I took away is that David Cronenberg lives up very, very close to the studios where they shoot this, I think, because he can just come in for one scene and just be like, yep, I'm David Cronenberg, I'm back. And then just kind of disappear and not even go on the trip with them. You know, like you think that he would go along with them. But that interest that I want to talk about that first scene mostly because we won't have to after this, because it doesn't really lead anywhere. I think it's going to lead somewhere in the future, but they're giving us that talk about how aliens are so weird to us that we don't even know, you know, they might wear hats on their butts instead of their heads. You know, they might communicate through, ultrasonic sound that we can't hear. And, and that's a good point. And it's probably good to remind the audience, but it's hard to imagine that you'd have to remind a bunch of Starfleet officers that aliens are going to be weird. That's like what they do like all day long, is just find aliens.
Right.
But I think that that's probably setting up that we're not going to get, if this isn't going to be somebody with silly putty on their forehead, you know, when we meet the 10C, like they're going to be something extra weird and different. Mm-hmm. And I wonder what form, what shape that'll take.
Maybe they'll
I'm terrified. I feel like it could be anything.
It really could. It would be cool if it was something along the lines of the aliens in Prodigy, who they made first contact with. Yeah. But, I mean, obviously I don't think it's going to be...
The Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull aliens.
Right. Yeah. Right. But, like, something kind of, like, ethereal, otherworldly, and they communicate with sounds, you know, or something like that.
Something that is almost clearly more powerful than us, right? It's like you meet somebody like that, and it's like, oh, you're clearly on another level.
I think it's Clint Howard. That's what he's going to have a glass of Tranya for everybody. That's what it's going to be. Maybe I hope they get Gilligan's Island jokes.
Yeah, was that what that was?
That's all I can think of. So it isn't just, we have to believe that David Cronenberg, a citizen of the 32nd century, knows what Gilligan's Island is. But also the other guy, the character actor that's in a lot of stuff that showed up in this is like, no, that's a good joke.
Yeah.
They're just big Sherwood Schwartz fans.
I know.
I don't know.
I'm just going to do a 3-hour tour. It's an expression. And everybody else is like, what?
I don't think it is.
And then like...
Maybe if you sing it.
Well, I mean, how much of the audience gets it?
Well, I don't know. I think that's pretty baked in. Actually, let's ask our resident... Elle, are you a millennial?
I'm a cusp. I
You're
think
on the cusp.
Technically, I would be Gen Z, but late 97, it's right on the verge.
Say the first two stanzas of the Gilligan's Island theme. You don't have to sing them.
Oh my God.
What's the first thing you do?
Say the first word.
Sit.
Can't do it.
Okay, all right. So I don't know who that joke was for then.
Sit right back and I tell you a tale.
Yeah,
A tale of Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys like
Okay, so I
sea
had some
shanties, right?
confidence because I feel like the same that I don't joke because I have a Spotify playlist that's all sea shanties. But it's honest, I do. I'll put myself on blast, I do. But I felt some confidence because I was certain that the same TV channel at my grandma's that played MASH for me and my grandpa to watch 2 episodes of, every night.
Yeah.
I was certain that they played Gilligan's Island, but based on what I just heard, maybe I was incorrect. Is there another one where they're on the island?
No, just they're
It
lost.
must have been Gilligan. It must have been. Well, no, like it was.
That guy's in Lost,
channel.
isn't he? That's where I know that guy.
Yeah,
from.
he's in Lost.
He's the Dharma scientist.
Yeah,
guy.
he's the Dharma scientist.
Well, then
yeah.
why is he in this?
What?
And then wait a minute. Wait,
he's a scientist.
Mind blown. So
Wait.
they're making a joke about being stranded on an island, and then you've got a guy who is
did
famous
that on
for
purpose.
But that's so weird, though.
They did that on purpose.
No.
They
Wait,
had
one of them
to.
was on Lost.
The new I should have looked up his name, but the guy who was riffing, the new scientist guy who's the exobiologist.
Oh my God.
He's the guy
You're
from
right.
the Dharma videos.
Who was like eating during their meeting and just like
he was just
laughing
chowing
and
down.
going
I know he was chowing down.
Yeah.
It was
Nobody
relatable though.
funny.
I was like,
Nobody
that's
ever
me.
eats the snacks. This guy eats the snacks.
I know.
Zoom
walks and he
meetings.
eats
I was
those
like,
snacks.
that's me. I'm sneaking the charcuterie in there when no one's looking.
Well, let's talk about one of the other leaders, authority figures on the show, and that's the president. We learned a little more about the president, and the president is going to go full, pick your president movie, White House Down, or what have you, and go along on this one. And I don't know, Ella, unless there is a rug pull waiting, I don't know about your president's bad theory. The president better go bad soon, or I don't think it's ever going to happen.
I mean, I have been feeling put on the spot because, as we recall, I also didn't trust Admiral Salt and Pepper.
Yeah.
Last season, had some very deep distrust, and now I've not been trusting the president. So I don't know if Star Trek has really been getting to me with the messages of not to trust authority.
Yeah.
Well,
but
to be fair, a lot of the
I don't know.
admirals are bad, so
maybe, well, yeah, and maybe I don't trust maybe I'm suspicious of politicians. I feel like that's a healthy suspicion, a healthy paranoia, just to, get a second opinion, do my own research, not trust one news source or whatever. But we'll see. She was very nice this episode.
Yeah, there was a lot of emotional sort of connection going on. I think the official Star Trek account for this recent President's Day tweeted like a Happy President's Day, and then they had just all the presidents that have appeared in Star Trek. So
Okay.
Jarish Inyo and the Federation president from Star Trek 6 and Abraham Lincoln, and then also
Nice.
the 32nd Century Federation president.
Very fun.
All of whom are upstanding people. Never had a duplicitous Federation president yet, I don't think.
As far as we know.
yes.
So that all works out. Right?
Yeah, no,
That's
no
true to
evil
life.
Season's
presidents.
not over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seasons. We'll see. Season's not over. What else is going on the show? I wanted to talk about what they're doing here. This is crazy. This is crazy. They're going to go through the Galactic Barrier, and I don't know
What
if
are
it's
they
just
doing?
Well, yeah, it's a good question. I don't know
Yeah.
if they're doing the thing where we've got holograms and Kirk never had holograms, and you can try to explain it, but it's just like the way that we do shows now. Whereas, in the past, it's been you fly through the Galactic Barrier. Sometimes you go photo negative and everybody goes, I feel weird.
Right.
And then you're through. But now it's like there's like bubbles in it or something. It's like a boba tea and they got to fly through the bubbles.
Yeah,
it's like
the colored bubbles apparently.
Yeah,
like the negative bubbles. Like you
That's
don't want to
bad.
fly through those.
Yeah. Sepia tone, black and white, bad. Color bubbles, good. So, I mean, it's kind of a innovation, I guess. I like the fact that they kind of made the point that You can't, Discovery is a ship that can get to the barrier before anybody else, but it can't go through the barrier that way because I guess maybe there's no spores in intergalactic space. Like there's nothing out there. There's no network there, at least not within the barrier itself. And so they've got to go physically through.
Yeah, I was trying
I have a good
figure out what was happening, honestly. Like, I feel like you explained it better than the show did.
Well,
or maybe I just,
first,
looked away for a second, and then I looked back and I was completely lost. I don't know, but...
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's a conceit of the writers. There is no barrier around our galaxy. And in fact, if you were leaving our galaxy, you wouldn't just go, no more stars. Like, it's not, it would be a gradual process as you left, the density of our galaxy for the relative void of the interstellar medium. But that's the science behind that. But I guess when they wrote Where No Man Has Gone Before, or Samuel Peoples did, he didn't know that, or he wanted to do something else. In extended media, there has been speculation as to why there is a barrier around our galaxy. What is that for?
Good question.
And
what is that for?
I believe it might be Greg Cox, or it could be Peter David. If you're doing Star Trek book stuff, unless it's Ella's father, you should definitely either guess Peter David or Greg Cox. But the idea is that it's like protecting us from the Q or something like that.
Interesting.
Now I'm just making it up off the top of my head.
Is it supposed to be like the ozone layer or something?
There is a grand design to it.
Keeping our galaxy in or something?
Well, you gotta, you don't know what's out there.
I don't.
Yeah. Terrible things. Definitely Kelvins are out there. We know that.
Yeah.
I'm not clear on what the Galactic Barrier is, but I do wish that somebody would put me in the relative void of the interstellar medium.
Yeah, just to chill for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Better than a sensory deprivation tank.
I'll have to, maybe. I'll have to, we'll have to call up our close personal friend, Peter David, get his advice on the matter.
There's a lot of theories about cosmology and how and why we are who and where we are, on Earth and in the Milky Way. And I had a physicist, I think it was, might have been Aaron McDonald, a physicist was on the show, and we were talking about the idea of voids, both galactic voids and intergalactic voids, and the idea that as we look at the universe, we see that galaxies are distributed, somewhat randomly, but also there are things called like attractors, which are dark matter. We don't know what they are, that sort of form filaments of the matter that we see. And you look and you can see areas where there's a void, where just for millions of light years across, there's nothing. So if there was a galaxy within one of those, like, you would just be surrounded by nothing else. Of course, you're in a galaxy with millions of stars, and the Milky Way is essentially within a void. If we were in any other random galaxy in the universe, we would probably be surrounded by a lot more galaxies and stars, and our night sky might look a lot different. And so if that it certainly contributed to our psychology, as we grew up as a species looking at the sky. But I just find that interesting, that maybe we feel alone, and maybe we could only exist because of how alone we actually are.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Well, and there's so much mythology around the stars and stuff like that as well.
A girl made them, is what I found out. When I saw a short trek. Yeah.
A man couldn't do
that. No.
This is not a man's job. No.
It doesn't have the imagination for it, so
So it's cool. Like in past episodes, we've always been sort of teased with the idea of, we're in trouble. We can't be this far out. There's that TNG episode where they go to Andromeda Galaxy, and then they go beyond to a place where thought and then matter and space are one. Wesley, you're the chosen one. And so it's always weird, and we always have to get back home by the end. But I like the fact that this ends with no, we're going that way. And so who knows, where we're going to end up? Who knows in this space outside of the space that we know what's going to happen? I think that's cool.
Well, they're going where no man has gone before.
Or woman.
Or
a person.
Or person.
Yes. Human.
Or alien.
In theory.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of humans / aliens, Adira is back with no real fanfare. They're just kind of back, and I thought that maybe there would be some kind of, I don't know, maybe they got in a fight with Gray or something, or like, you know, there's I mean, clearly it just seems like Gray is just training or whatever, but I thought there would be something that motivates it, but I don't care, whatever, I'm glad they're back.
I'm glad they're back too, but I also, like, honestly, when they were first on screen, they seemed like something was bothering them.
Yeah. And
I was thinking, oh, did something happen with Gray? And it just turns out that no, it was just Stamets, like, going on about them that made them uncomfortable. That was all that was.
I do love Anthony Rapp as Stamets as an overbearing father figure is hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shot of him that was just him looking between Adira and Michael was hilarious.
Yeah, the character has really come a long way when you think about it.
Yeah.
From the first season.
Honestly.
And I think that that's really great. All of our characters have come a long way. They're outside of the galaxy. But one of... What?
Lots of years into the future.
What?
One of the characters that has come along with them is Tarina, who ends up on board. I think that wasn't the plan, but now she's here, and so Saru has a chance to continue to try and pursue his relationship with her, which I know we've got 3 episodes left, but they're suggesting it's going somewhere, but we don't really get any joy there. They sit down together in the bar at the end by one of the in-the-wall fires. And there's been so much fire on Discovery this season. I'm not sure if that's like a good fire or a bad fire, but I think that's okay. That's a good fire.
It's a weird choice, I think, to have in the interior of a spaceship. I guess it's supposed to, maybe it's like, ooh, it reminds you of restaurants on Earth. You know, you got fire in the wall. Or whatever.
Doesn't it feel homey, warm?
Yeah.
Right. But it's
and they've got them on the bridge too, so you always want to feel at home.
Yeah.
But hopefully that will continue, and Saru keeps getting like interesting hooks, and I feel like we're not hooking into him. You know, he can. He's a whole new man now. You know, he's not a prey species anymore. He's sort of evolved. And we've just taken that for granted, and we haven't really dug into that. You know, he's got a new
absolutely right.
Ward or charge in Su'Kal and a new position on Kaminar, and we've kind of moved on from that. And so I hope that we get something out of this Tarina thing before they obviously shovel it off to we're not going to deal with that land.
Yeah,
it's like...
Go ahead.
You go. Okay, wait, okay. I was going to say, it's like so... I want to be more invested, I think, than I am. But it's like so the secondhand embarrassment I get watching Saru try to interact with a Vulcan like that. I feel so, and it's to no fault of Saru or Doug Jones, but like having to watch him be like, maybe we could have a meal, or maybe I have a crush on you. I was like, I really am so mortified. I don't know what that says about me, but I was like, I'm mortified. What is she going to say? What's about to happen? Anyways.
I was actually mad at the show when, like, I mean, I know that the other person came up to her and, like, whispered something in her ear and she literally had to go. But I was like, come on, show. You're not going to give us more than that right now, you know? And then, like, they saw each other later and then it was, like, super awkward. And it's like, oh. So, yeah.
It's tough because she's a Vulcan, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, your aide whispers in your ear, you got to go away, but you're emotionally intelligent. You know that this guy is trying to say something. So this is when you put your hand on his arm and say, well, we'll catch up later. I'll see you later. Right? You give him a message. But she doesn't have the messages. She's a Vulcan. And he's a different species. He's awkward. So
loosey-goosey Vulcan.
She is a little loosey-goosey. I don't know how they do it in the 32nd century, but
different apparently.
You have to imagine that there's some emotional barrier there still. But yeah, that's I think that's what I like so much, or the most about season 4 so far. I want to see where this is going.
I am too.
I was gonna say, is it bad that I was more like, definitely the second embarrassment is still there, But I was so excited when then she was on the ship. Like I was like, oh, they're stuck together. I was like, it's so exciting. I was like, I'm mortified, but I can't wait. I was like, I'm gonna turn my eyes away from the television for a few moments when they're on screen together, but I'm so excited to see what happens.
I'm just gonna listen, but yeah.
I'm gonna look away. It's gonna be like a radio drama for 1 second just so I can handle it without being completely mortified, but I'm stoked.
So good luck to him, although, Saru, herding cats, that's speciesist against Caitians, so come on, we don't say that.
No. I also,
we had retired that.
I love Saru, but I don't. If I was gonna say who had the most like moves on the Discovery crew, it wouldn't be Saru, and especially not with a Vulcan.
No, and you kind of think like, wow, his character name just went right out of my head. Wilson Cruz's character, Culber. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think he gave him some good advice in that, like, you just have to go for it, but then maybe ask questions like, how do you feel about that? Do you feel comfortable approaching that, and kind of like feeling him out and seeing like if he needs help, knowing that he most likely does, without like just completely giving it to him.
Come in with something. You had the flower thing before. Come in with that.
Yeah.
How's the flower? How's the plant?
Nice.
That was really nice. That would have been great. Like, suggest like a nice, simple gesture to show that you are interested, or something that, so he wouldn't feel so tongue tied and like.
He's gonna shoot a spine if he's not.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh God. But also, like, we don't know anything about like Kelpian dating, right?
No, we don't.
We know a bit about Vulcan dating, and if I had a crush on a Vulcan, I also would immediately not know what to do. Like, I feel like the flower thing was easier because he was like, we're friends, kind of. We're both. I'm almost a politician. You're a politician. We're both doing this thing. We're exchanging whatever, and it was easier.
Yeah,
even if there was underlying feelings on both sides, but now it's like, food maybe.
Food, food.
Right?
You like fish?
We both eat.
Well, and it's like we were saying, Ella, like how he was like, he could have just said, "I'd like to take you up on your invitation to have a meal," and like just held back on the "and I kind of like you" thing for a little bit. He really
didn't need to say it, but he also was like, maybe I'm gonna die. But it's also that thing like, true. Sometimes you get this thing, and this isn't like just a Star Trek thing or a Saru thing, but it's like when a character has a crush on another character and they're going maybe to their death and they're like, I have to tell them that I kind of like them, and it's like, do you? Is it worth before you die telling them that you have a crush on them?
I guess.
Like, what if you live and you come back and it's like, sorry that I told you I had a crush on you. I'll make sure to get you, like a paper Valentine in February.
But you're not thinking about that. It's like, and this is, a classic illusion that anybody would make, but it's like when in the movie Armageddon, Steve Buscemi's character is being sent to drill on the asteroid and save Earth, but they're almost definitely going to die. It's the scariest environment imaginable. And so he takes out a loan from a loan shark, and then he goes and blows it all in Vegas, right? But then they come back, and they're to a hero's welcome, but somebody's ready to break his legs because he owes $100,000 to Shifty Pete or whatever it is.
Oh my God.
Sure, it is like that.
I probably shouldn't have said anything at all. Well, Saru's got
Sneaky Pete. What's that barn when he Sneaky Pete's in Minneapolis?
Sneaky Pete's, yeah. That's what I was thinking of. Well, Saru's got a lot of work ahead of him. He's missing 1,000 years of Kelpian game, in addition to not having a lot of game himself. Remember, they were living on the beach, and now they're living in the Gungan city. So, like,
that's true.
His species has evolved quite a bit.
He's doing his best. He really is.
Let's talk about a new species that we met. And I don't know the guy's species, but we met Oros, Tarka's friend that he keeps talking about, which stifled all the well, it stifled all the speculation. Oh, well, okay, all right. I'm with you there if that's where you want to go. I don't feel like this show would be afraid to take it there, so I'm not sure why they wouldn't have taken it there if that's what they were going for. Mika, do you think that that's what they were going for?
I think that's absolutely what they were going for,
right,
but
well
I don't know why they...
Don't make him like 15 or whatever.
Well,
It seemed like he was a little young.
Well, he's just short, right?
I think he was just short.
All right, well, I don't know who played him.
But I do
Where's
understand...
the smooch? Give us a smooch.
That's when I understand where you're coming from, Cal. Like, they didn't, like, go there. They had their beds, like, scooched up next to each other, and they were doing math problems together, and then they held hands once.
Yeah, that's fine.
They comforted each other a little bit. But there was no, like I love you, or... that's not what I'm looking for. Jeez, come on.
So I'm just saying, be explicit with your intention, that's all.
Well, yeah, and just not like a big kiss, or, we're going to do this, turn to each other, smooch.
Yeah, and in an episode where we're seeing another romantic relationship that is kind of starting, that is also uncertain, and we're seeing a platonic friendship developing uncertainly between the president and Michael Burnham. I guess they're just going to keep that theme of like, well, this is kind of ambiguous, but like, why not go for it is what I'm saying, if that's what you want to do. What I wanted to say was, it really puts the kibosh on the speculation that like Tarka's friend is an alternate version of him, which is a theory that I've seen floating around the internet, which I would believe, because I gotta level with you. Maybe you're not gonna want to hear this. I don't care about Tarka. I don't care what happens to this character at all. I know he's not going to stick around. I think that he's weird and duplicitous. I don't like his flexible morality. I appreciate that he found a connection with somebody and he, wants to renew that by finding them. But like,
right.
I feel like in other things we've seen, Star Trek Generations, right? Mm-hmm. Soren is going to destroy an entire planet, so he can get to the Ribbon and be, back in paradise with his family and everything. And so I understand that motivation, but like, the way that they're playing this, and the actors, I've seen him in other stuff, he's fine, but just the way they're playing it is just, it feels emotionally inert to me in a way that it shouldn't, if he is, like Book, motivated by this deep feeling of loss. And, we don't see any of that. He's always just like, yeah, even when I screw up, it's the right thing. Check this out. Like, he's just a know-it-all, and I don't like him, and I don't care.
No.
I mean, do you love to hate him a bit though? Like, do you?
No,
find
not really.
Him...
He doesn't even really.
You don't like when you don't find
hatred in me either.
Like
I didn't like Osira really at all.
Yeah,
no.
But I liked hating her. But like this guy, I just don't really.
I'm kind of with you. I don't actually, not even kind of. I don't really care about Tarka either. But at the same time, I feel like if they had kind of spooled out his backstory, like a little bit, like a couple episodes, like a little section, maybe we would have grown sympathetic to him along the way instead of this, I don't know. Maybe that's not true, but I'm just like thinking that maybe if we, and I mean, he also is just like, I screw up, but I do the right thing, So yeah.
If we had some first, like, imagine the episode where they're sort of what is it, the council is convening about the DMA, and he and Book meet. If we had sort of like a first, even just a super short flashback of Oros in that episode.
Yes.
And we've been putting the pieces together since then. It would have been a little bit more motivating. I mean, I think the actor's doing a really good job, but I would agree that I don't really have big feelings about Tarka. I think I view him more as like the devil on Book's shoulder than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at him, honestly.
There's more compelling devils though. And then like that episode that you mentioned, like that's a good point because and presumably they knew where they were going and what they were going to do. But we learn in that episode near the end of it, just completely offhand, that he's from an entirely different universe or something, I guess. And that and
he mentions
that's all thrown off in a way that if you are going to employ flashbacks or if you are going to dig in a little more, then, this is where you could begin giving us that kind of stuff instead of like presenting it like you're just kind of making it up as you go, or you just thought of like, oh, okay, now we'll just have a whole episode that is 20 minutes longer than these episodes usually are, because we are going to present a completely different side story where he's doing math with this kid. Or with this short adult alien. A short king.
Do you think he was lying when he said he was from a different universe and he had to get back there?
No, because isn't the I keep calling him a kid. Oros. Isn't he trying to beam himself to another universe? That's what he's doing.
But he's not from there.
In the cave with a box of scraps.
I don't think Tarka's from there.
Tony Stark built this.
Well, didn't you get Iron Man vibes from it? I thought he was going to die like Hoyinson, but yeah. And so they built this beaming thing, and they can power it because they've got geothermal power, which is like, okay, geothermal power comes from the Earth, great. So you're telling me the DMA is like the same amount of power as like a geothermal power station? Do you know what I mean? Like, why does he need that much power? Was there that much power on this Emerald Chain base?
Good question.
I don't know. And then there's Animatter and stuff like that too. I don't. There's just so much. There's so much technobabble flying around. And then they mix it with like real world science babble. So they're like, oh, there's a quantum string, but if we wrap the quantum string, like we're making yarn. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't.
I think it's better.
I never know what's going on.
I think it's better if it's just technobabble.
Yeah.
Honestly. Because then we can be like, oh, Star Trek.
Oh,
you.
Yeah. I remember.
Making stuff up.
Yeah.
Because B'Elanna used the quantum flux inhibitor in that one episode. That's how you call back to things.
Yeah. And I think that's fine. I think it gets confusing when you mix up the technobabble and the real world science. I don't know. Maybe other people are able to follow it well.
Frontiers are cool. They're always cool.
Thanks, Saru.
I think
I love Saru, but anything that Saru says is cool is not cool.
I have to agree.
Nerd.
Saru turns the chair around, throws like one 5-foot-long leg over it. Let me talk to you.
Stop.
Let me just rap with you for a bit. You can call me Mr. Saru.
His legs are so long.
Sorry, Ella, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think you guys are right, but I also think two things. The first thing is that really, like, Oros could be dead, because what benefits the Emerald Chain from like when they're leaving a work camp to like log every prisoner death, right? And then the other thing is that
dark but true.
Yeah,
dark if true.
And then the other thing is that as far as the technobabble goes, like the first time they tried it, they were trying to transport two of them to another universe, and maybe two of them was too many atoms, and you know, the shorter one could make it by the skin of his teeth.
You must be this short to transport.
Oh,
exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. You read my mind.
Well, obviously, there's more to come in this story. There's 3 more episodes in the season. What do you expect to see as the season wraps up, Mika?
Well, I expect that we'll meet the Tensi. I don't know if we will visually see something or not, or they'll be like the other. I always have trouble remembering their name. The aliens from Voyager that were like the CG aliens. They're
Species 8472.
Yeah, 8472. Or there'll be something like that, you know. I don't know. They'll either be like so incomprehensible our eyes don't even register what they look like, or they'll be some better CGI than we had in Voyager days. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. But they'll have to have some sort of confrontation with Book and Tarka, I think.
Yeah.
Unless they're somehow able to come together and work together, but I kind of feel like that's not going to happen.
My book Life-O-meter has swung back to live.
Interesting.
Because introducing this
what
sympathetic, you know, short king character that Tarka cares about, whether romantically or platonically.
Yeah.
Tarka will sacrifice himself to save that character, or, you know, Discovery, and redeem himself, and then, you know, Book will Book will just get a Cassidy sentence. He'll just go to jail for 6 months and then get out by the time we come back for season 5. That's what I think.
Okay, I could see that.
The
both
off-screen
those things happening.
Or maybe the Federation.
Tarka could find out that Oros did die and then be like, "Oh, what's the point? I'll go to the big." What did he call it? Started with a K. Anyways, I'll go to the big paradise alternate universe in the sky.
Oh, right. Yeah. The Kylese.
To save these people. Yeah.
Which is another thing. Yeah. All right. We get it. It's just, I don't know. It's another place. It's a good place. There's no way that you could I just feel like it's like filmic syntax to like show us like a couple frames of his imagination of what this place is. Like,
sure.
Does he know what this place is? You know what I mean? Like, they refer to things that we haven't seen yet that are off screen and won't see for episodes. Mm-hmm. So it's like, except I know that we all live on the internet and I can go to the Memory Alpha page for Kylese now. It doesn't occupy any space in my mind in the narrative. So it's like, it's not important to me. Mm-hmm. I feel like this show does that a lot.
It does. And they don't actually go even into great lengths as to like describing what this planet is like. Like, is it a temperate planet? Is it tropical?
It's super great.
It's just the best.
It's gonna love it.
And I'm like, what is the best? Is it Disney World? Is it the Bahamas?
Dude, it's Epcot.
Yeah, exactly.
But what if it's not? What if it's shoot? I tried and failed to hang with the millennials. The Swackhammer's the space amusement park in Space Jam. The original Space Jam. What's it called?
I can't remember.
It's like Crappy Mountain or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, Crappy Mountain.
Right.
Anyway, thanks for that. Ella,
sorry.
What about you?
Space Jam.
Where do you haven't seen Space Jam?
I haven't seen Space Jam. You know what I do know? I know the song the Jonas Brothers wrote for the second Space Jam soundtrack. It's called Mercy.
All right.
Listen, it's really good. It's really good. Okay. If you take away anything from this episode, listen to Mercy by the Jonas Brothers. I'm serious. I'm being serious. I saw them in concert last summer, for real, and they played Mercy, and I fell over. It was on the grass, lumpy grass. I was so excited I fell over, for real.
That's pretty excited.
Yeah, you should get that like that.
It was the best day of my life.
It's called Moron Mountain. That way you can win a pub quiz in the future on me.
Nice.
Moron Mountain.
Moron Mountain?
Yes.
Okay.
Ella, and what's this podcast about? It's not about the Jonas Brothers?
Yeah, right. Ella, what do you think is coming up on the show?
I would also love like an Ark of the Covenant type reveal for the 10C aliens.
Okay. Tarka's face melts off.
That'd be really fun. Exactly. I would love to see them. I would love to see them spend, half of their budget on like some sick CG aliens. That'd be amazing. I would love a twist, God forbid. It's like a human. Can you imagine? It's literally Nero from JJ Trek.
That would be cool.
Or it's just like Q.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, you got me.
I would actually like that. That would actually be funny.
I kind of, the more I think about it, the more I think it's going to be something like that. I think maybe it's a dodge. They're getting us ready for something really weird. Yeah, and then it'll just be Dirk Benedict or something like that, which would be awesome. Because I don't know if they, we're being kind of mean to the show tonight. I don't know if they have it in them. Because every time we've seen like a weird alien that's supposed to really stretch, what we can think of and freak us out, it's just a gloppy black thing. The Baul, the nightmare creature, in Sukal's holodeck.
I don't know. The Baul were kind of scary.
But they're just like, it's amorphous in black and it's made of something. And I want to, like Mika said, I want to see like 3 legs. I want to see weird gills.
Well, maybe I'm easily spooked, and that would not be unfair. That would not be an unfair statement to make.
I don't want it to be too spooky, just spooky enough.
Exactly.
So we'll have to see. The bets are in, but the jury is out. Smith. Well, if no one has anything else to say, I think that is it for the show this week. Thanks for joining us, listeners. And if you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPOD for updates and to get notified when new episodes of both Enterprising Individuals and Discoverage are released. And you can tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage or email us at EISTPOD@gmail.com. And while you're on the internet, why not head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to our show feed and give us a rating and a review because it really helps us out. If you want to help the show grow, stop by our Patreon page at patreon.com/EISTpod. And as always, if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return on March 3rd for the 11th episode of Star Trek Discovery's 4th season. We don't know anything about the episode yet, but we will be here next Thursday to cover it. We'll be going live once again at 8 p.m. Central, so join us then. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook at EISTpod to get notified when we're live and broadcasting. But in the meantime, why not check out our main show, Enterprising Individuals, at enterprisingindividuals.com. Every Wednesday on the show, I and a special guest discuss in excruciating detail a selected episode from a Star Trek series. We also have news from the Trek sphere and interviews with special guests. Our latest episode just dropped, and on it I'm joined by YouTuber ThoughtSlime to talk about the world of the Federation as it compares to our modern world. The Federation, they got no money, no war, no scarcity, and all the ice cream sundaes they can eat. How did they do it? Political theorists hate them for this one simple trick, and ThoughtSlime and I talk about what we might need to do to get there. You can hear that episode at enterprisingindividuals.com or wherever you get our podcasts. Ella, thanks as always for joining me to talk about tonight's episode of Discovery and remind people where they can find you online.
Thank you. We did not talk about Rings of Power this episode, so I will say that I do my home podcast, my original podcast with my dad. It's called Generations Geek. We post when we can. We've been working on a Hunger Games series, which is very fun because my father, being a man of his age, has never read or seen the movies since we started watching them for the show.
Okay.
So it's very fun to hear his thoughts because I really like the books and I think they hold up. I just reread them earlier this year. But the movies are also very, very good. So it's fun to hear his thoughts.
Yeah. All right. Well, don't keep it secret or safe. Go check out those thoughts on Generations Geek. And Mika, thanks for coming on the show. And it's always great to have you. And where can people find you online?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. You can find me at Mika and Hana on Twitter and justenoughtrope.com. And Sailor Noob also has a link tree. So we're excited about that. And that is linktr.ee/Sailor_noob.
And what's coming up on the Just Enough Trope podcast?
Yeah, well, this week is our monthly Patreon show, and our patrons got to choose between two fantastical president films, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, or America, the Motion Picture, which is an animated film that came out last year with a chainsaw-wielding George Washington, voiced by Channing Tatum, and a beer-loving Sam Adams, voiced by Jason Mantzoukas, and I was like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun, and we're watching Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Okay, all right.
So, there you go. Check that out. It'll be out, I think, on Monday, 'cause we post on Mondays, so...
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, where he's hunting vampires and he's Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
Okay.
You got it.
I
think that says everything. So
looking forward to that. The only thing that would make that better is if it starred Jessie Buckley as Mary Todd Lincoln. But unfortunately, it doesn't. But fortunately, I completed my hat trick. So go and check that out at justenoughtrope.com. And that is it for us. Thanks for listening, and we are signing off. This is Aaron for Mika and Ella saying live long and prosper.